Yep. Rightio folks, head-to-head time. We love head-to-heads because people ask us stacks on YouTube and Instagram. Yeah, that's great, but what's it like against this or what's it like against that?
So we're going to be doing more head-to-heads going forward.
For sure. Today's one, Flexvolt 54V versus the Makita XGT 40V Max HS003G and
DCS578.
Yeah, beautiful.
This is the second gen Flexvolt saw.
Yes.
We reviewed the first one, I don't know, 3-4 years ago now.
Yes, yeah.
I've been using it pretty much that whole time as my main saw as a contractor and really love it.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to see how this goes. This is not that new, if I'm honest. But given that it's an update to what we previously thought was the baddest and biggest, most powerful saw, this seems like the fight to do.
Oh, 100%. And it is a lot of questions that we get because people new or looking at new to this platform go, yeah, what's it like against the Flexvolt? Because that has been really the previous killer, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been the benchmark for cordless saws for a little while.
Yep.
This one comes with a 9 amp hour battery in the kits rather than the 6s that the previous version came from. That accounts for a bit of the power boost that they claim.
Yes.
So we're running a 9 here, running a 4 there.
Yep.
They have very similar watt hours, and we'll talk about that later.
We will talk about that. What we want to just touch on first is the blades.
Correct.
So we changed across for majority of the testing.
Most of the testing.
Most of the testing across to a Diablo. For very good reason, we want these two saws doing all the testing on the same blade, not forgetting the fact that factory blades come on it.
Yeah.
So you need to see some of the testing and some of our thoughts on these blades, but generally we'll use these for the testing to be fair.
Because, you know, you probably go through 10, 20, 30 blades in a lifetime of a saw.
Yep.
So we want to be testing the saw, not the blade.
Yep.
For the most part.
Yep.
But we've got the stock ones on there now, and they make a big difference because, to be frank, Makita do good stock blades.
Yep.
And Dewalt do poor stock blades.
They do. We've spoken about it for quite a long time now. What we do need to say is that right as we're filming, Dewalt has just launched their new blades in America.
Oh.
And they are claiming that they are significantly better.
Well, that is good to hear, and I hope that they are right.
It'd be nice if the amount of hype that's coming out, that they're close to that. Look, the funny thing is, they're comparing it to Diablo.
Okay.
Which tells you they're saying that these are the business. So we're on the right blade for most of our testing.
Yep.
Dewalt's coming out saying, hey, we're improving it. So let's hope it is.
But this is not one of those new ones.
No.
This is pretty average. And when we started testing here, the Makita was pulling ahead in power, in speed, which really shocked us. I mean, you look at the size of the motor on this Dewalt saw.
Yep.
It's a fair bit bigger than the Makita.
It's quite different, yes.
However, once we flipped over to the Diablos and had the same blade on each, the Dewalt definitely pulled ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's a power thing. This, we haven't talked about speeds yet. This blade, though, is only, what would you say, 0.1 of a mil thinner
Yes.
than
the Dewalt.
So you wouldn't think there's a massive difference. Maybe it's tooth quality, the tooth set. I'm not
Tooth
sure.
geometry, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Absolutely. But yeah, moving on to the power category, these are both really powerful saws.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, I can say quite confidently this is the most powerful saw we've ever used.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if we can say categorically that that's second, but if it's not, it's very close, yeah?
Well, absolutely. The Milwaukee would be the other one
That might vie for it.
to test against it, the heavy duty. We haven't done that as yet.
Yes. But anyway, extremely powerful saws. The edge definitely goes to DeWalt. Yep. If you're cutting thin sheet goods and whatever, you won't actually feel that difference. That one actually has a higher RPM. What's the RPM on that one?
Oh, geez, you dog. I don't know where
this
is
one's
it.
5,800 RPM.
Yeah, okay. That's 6,000.
Oh, so it's only a couple of hundred.
Yeah, so it's only a couple hundred. But you do notice it, which I think speed and blade potentially accounts for that in the thin stuff. You're right.
Yes, but put this on a bevel, stick it in some 45mm stock, try and rip.
Yep.
Then this is going to pull ahead.
That's got some serious roids in the heavy stuff.
All day.
Yep.
Now, if you've got nothing else to say about power, I do want to just talk briefly about battery platform because it's important to people. It is worth noting that this battery here is Flexvolt, meaning it can be used on any of the 18-volt tools as well.
Correct, yeah.
So I run a lot of Dewalt gear at work. I often throw my 9 amp hour Flexvolt battery onto my grinder just to make it last a long time.
Yep.
You can't do that, obviously, on Makita's 18-volt platform.
No, it is separate.
Because it's a different system.
Yep, it is. We're not going to talk about that right now. What we're going to say is we've addressed that in past videos.
Yeah, in other XGT reviews.
Yep. We back this
We've got
platform.
no problem with the platform at all.
Yep, happy for you to message us and have individual dialogue, but we back the platform.
Yep.
18-volt LXT, it's going nowhere.
Correct.
So that argument just needs to stop. 36, the 2x18, to be honest, Makita say it's going nowhere. I personally have a bit of a question on that.
Yeah.
But at the moment, would you put your coin here? Absolutely, because this ain't going anywhere. LTX is going nowhere.
Yep, I would. Now, are we got apples to apples here? Well, this is 9 amp hours at 18 volt. That's how it's classified.
Yes.
We can run it both.
Yep.
That's 4 amp hours on the 40 volt XGT line.
Yep.
Actually 36 volt nominal if we're comparing apples to apples.
Yes.
So if you doubled that when it comes down to 18, that would be 8. So 8 versus 9, pretty close. As I said, the watt hours, 162 here.
And 144. 4, yeah. Yep.
Also worth noting, you said there's some bigger batteries come out. I have seen pictures of the 15 amp.
15 amps are definitely out in America right now as we're filming.
Okay.
And the 8 amp, I've seen that out in America as we're filming. So for Aussies, I don't know, about 6 years.
Yeah.
No, we will have them soon.
Again, to talk apples to apples, that would be 16 amp hours on an 18 volt equivalent.
Yep.
So that will pull this one a little bit ahead in terms of total juice.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
In terms of our experience, our user experience of these tools,
Yep.
we found them both to be comfortable.
Yep.
Both had really nice grips. The weight isn't that difference in the balance. It's 5.4 kilos here, just under 5.1 there.
Yeah, so it's a bit.
Yeah, there's a few hundred grams there.
It's not massively noticeable.
Yep.
What I would say is I think when you pick this up and you're going cut after cut after cut, you do start to notice that more.
Sure.
Yeah, as we come in fresh today and we pick it up, I go, oh, gee, you don't really feel that much difference. When we did all the full testings, you did notice that.
Which was actually well over a month ago, and we recorded our actual talk then as well. Yep. We had a big audio issue, so we're back in the shop.
We love coming back.
Doing it again a month after the fact. So anyway, both nice tools to use. The Dewalt is significantly longer because battery's on the back.
Whereas this tucks in on the side.
On the side.
Yep.
So that's a problem for storage. But in the cut, it's not a problem because we both actually found ourselves having our forearm on the battery.
Yeah.
Kind of to take some of the strain off the hand in pushing it through hard ripping.
Correct, which sounds really dumb, and don't slag it for it, because I reckon anyone who uses this daily, now take note of what you do, because I reckon when you are ripping, you don't realise that your forearm touches that battery and actually helps to push you along a little bit.
It's actually quite
noticeable.
ergonomic.
Yeah, and it's a
good.
bit weird. We noticed it and went, what are we doing?
Yes.
But it works.
In terms of adjustments, Makita takes the cake here.
It does. It feels like this is well thought out for that, what we now call user experience.
Yeah.
Flick a lever, you've got nice big numbers, I'm going to say on top, and a big red line. The Dewalt, to drop your base down, you're up underneath and sort of looking.
Yeah.
It feels a bit clunkier.
It's all grey. It's not particularly user-friendly.
It's not going to turn you off buying that. It's not going to make
you.
I'm not doing it.
Do it. You can still adjust it. No problem.
This has a 22.5 and a 45 bevel indent. You can sort of feel it.
Drops in on them.
I'm going to say the Makita is light years ahead of that.
Right.
In that once you flick here, you drop it down. It's quite a positive lock into 22.5.
It actually stops you at those.
Correct.
Angles,
into 45 and into 56. But as you were saying, we both discussed and agreed, that also isn't going to change the game 100% for you. Because are you doing that 30 or 50 times a day?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing if you're already thinking going this way. Very, very tidy.
It's a nice to have. It's just how much you're going to use it.
Yep. Power and usability probably overtakes that little bonus, but I do love that.
Yes, and the usability, we need to touch on something that's very important, and that is the sight lines on the blade.
Yep.
As a right-hander, like most of you,
dirty right-hander,
a right-hand blade like this puts the blade on the opposite side from me, which doesn't give me the vision on the blade that Mike has as a left-hander.
Yeah, I've got great line of sight.
Which means I'm looking down through this gap most of the time to see my cut.
Yes.
And the Dewalt has far superior sight lines than the Makita does.
It really does.
They haven't done, this is the one thing that Makita have been thoughtless on, I think.
Yes.
On this saw, because they have both the front handle here.
It sits forward and proud.
And also this whopping big rafter hook blocking your sight lines to the blade.
Yeah, it genuinely does. As a right-hander, this thing is sitting up and tight, whereas the Dewalt handle assembler, it's leaning back in a deck chair.
It is. And if you're sitting down here like this, right next to it, you can get an okay sight line on the Makita.
Yeah, you can,
for sure.
But who's doing that most of the time?
Normal circumstances, cutting down on your waist, cutting up on the side, things like that.
Yeah.
The Dewalt's just got better sight lines for a righty. That matters a lot. If you're a lefty, you're looking at the blade from the inside anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares? I love that, but I could understand as if I was a righty, I can understand how that would get frustrating.
Yeah, so that's the only big detractor from the Makita is those sight lines.
Yep.
The rafter hook we just mentioned, the Dewalt's got a standard little kind of steel.
Yep.
It'll go over a 45mm stud or noggin or whatever.
Which we consider more than adequate.
More than adequate.
This thing's got its own postcode.
Yeah.
And we want to just ask the question, why? What are we missing? Why do we need it that big? If you've got it and you love it, or you know exactly why that's a benefit versus that, then tell us, because we're missing something, because I think that's over the top.
We don't quite get it. We've seen a massive rafter hook like that before on a Hikoki framing nailer.
Yep.
And back then we were like, what?
And that actually turned out to be a lot of people going, oh, it's insane, it's too big.
People switched it over.
Yep, so you tell us, you be the expert versus us pretending on this, because we actually don't know why we're missing something.
Exactly right. To talk to a few other things, the cut depths are 55 and 56, like, negligible.
Yep.
They both have a really nice retracting guard.
Yep.
Even on the 45, they both do that.
Yeah,
on the
which,
previous...
just quickly explain that.
Oh, right. Well, so on the 18x2 saw that we reviewed ages ago, I quite liked that saw, but the kind of the angles and the geometry on the front of the guard here where it first hits the timber would often catch on that saw.
Yeah.
And it was a bugbear, and it sent me back to this very quickly.
Yep.
They fixed it on this XGT model, even on the bevel, which I actually don't mind if guards catch on the 45 bevel, because it's quite hard not to do.
Yep.
These are both actually retracting really well.
They are.
So they're both A+ mint.
100%. And again, that's just another little thing that we'll pick on.
Yeah.
But if you're knocking nogs off studs, or if you're just dropping the ends off LVLs or beams, it is a frustrating thing to have to just flick up on that 18x2, whereas this, bang, whack it straight through. It makes a difference. It's just another little point.
Agreed.
This is fantastic now.
It is. A little point of difference is the base plate.
Yep.
On the Dewalt, it's very flat. There's nothing in the way of like ridges or...
Yep. This has got almost like a framework inside
it's got like
it.
a honeycomb almost in there, doesn't
printed
it?
almost.
So this has a thicker base thickness, but the Makita's, all its ridges and frame, I think overall make it stronger.
Yep.
I think it'll handle it.
Yeah, it's still lighter. So
right,
they've put a bit of work into the base, I think.
They have.
Cracking indents and markings on this base as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All magnesium.
Yep.
Right, before we pick our personal picks, just want to... Something that people argue about all the time in our comments is left blade versus right blade and which is better.
Yep.
I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but I had a carpenter, an experienced builder come in and talk to it a little bit more, with a bit more education than I had previously.
Yep.
And he raised a few good points. Yes, if you have the blade on the inside, you have way better sight lines.
Yep.
And everybody loves better sight lines. No one's going to argue that.
Correct.
As a right-hander, right-hand blade, I can't see the blade and the cut as well. But there are several things going against the inside blade.
Yep.
The first and most important one is safety. If you get kickback, your blade is on the side of your body.
Yep.
That could mess you up a lot. The other thing is it's throwing all the dust at you rather than outside you.
That's fair.
There's also the point of your cutoff. As a right-hander with a right-hand blade... Oh, your
off-cut as you drop.
My off-cut is going to drop off from my right.
Yep.
And the entirety of my base plate is going to sit on the workpiece. Mm-hmm. As a lefty... if my offcut is on my left, then my base plate is sitting on the piece that I'm losing.
Yep, and you're only sitting 25 mil on your...
Which is not great for your angle.
Yep, that's
so
fair.
I ended up siding with him in the comments, and I think for a right-hander, right blade is better, and for a left-hander, left blade is better.
Yep.
Notwithstanding that it is pleasant to have your blade on the inside from a sight perspective.
Another question for you guys. What would you rather? Does that bother you, affect you or not? Let us know. One thing I really want to quickly touch on, because you spoke about dust, etc. One bonus that Makita has, the extraction is phenomenal. This is good extraction as well.
Yeah.
But this one, the 003G, it comes with your Bluetooth, your AWS Bluetooth.
Oh, right.
So if you are hooked onto the Makita setup and you've got the VAC, the minute you hit this trigger, you're auto sucking, which I think is great. Dewalt doesn't have that. No. It doesn't seem to have any setup for auto like that.
No, but if you use their Flexvolt dust extractor, you've got a fob.
You've got a fob.
So you can just press it on your wrist or whatever.
Correct. And I love that all companies pretty much are doing that.
Yeah.
But I really rate this.
That's the best.
One other thing, you've got a lanyard point here.
Oh,
so safety lanyards can hook straight onto this. Now, everybody's getting clever. You could have one that wraps around the back of the handle with the tape. If you're so inclined to go, no, I want a safety lanyard up here on this scaffolding because I'm knocking off tails of trusses, whatever, then actually, I think that's great. It's just a little thing, but I think it's great.
That's a good idea. Right, all right. Let's quickly wrap this up.
Yep.
If you have to pick a saw, which one do you pick, Mike?
I really love the Flexvolt Advantage for the power and the accessibility, etc., to both parts, but I'd go here.
Okay.
I feel like it's more refined. In keeping in mind, it's got tons of grunt, and it just feels like a nicer package to me.
Sure.
Keeping in mind, I do not regularly cut beams and LVLs and ripping.
Yeah.
If I did, then geez, I'd steer towards that because that power, it is significant and it's great. For me, I'm happy with this.
You're there?
Yep.
And I am of the opposite viewpoint.
Yep.
Again, I rate that saw. I think it's a really nice saw.
Yep.
But the two things that win this over for me are the sight lines as a right-hander is a deal breaker for me.
Yep.
And just the extra grunt.
Yes.
I use it at work and I love it.
You do.
So ripping stuff is something that I do.
Yep.
So anyway.
You do.
I do.
You do.
But honestly, cannot go wrong with either of these saws.
No.
Cracking saws. We would like to give you a definitive winner, and we usually will try to do that in our head-to-head series.
Ordinarily, we'd get to that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, well, we try.
But this was hard to separate enough.
It was. And there's two of us, so we're not always going to agree. That's just life.
Yep, absolutely. Let us know what you think, though, because you might have this and just go, nah, mate, I found these 3 benefits that this doesn't have. Let us know, please.
Yeah, get in the comments and tell us. Yep. Tell us with flogs. We don't care. Just communicate with us in some form.
Do it gently, but yeah.
And also, don't forget to hit us up on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
And hit the subscribe button if you could. If you like what we do, that we'd appreciate that.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.